What's up guys, the StrongBoys19 here and welcome to a new album review. It has been close to a month since I have done a different review and I apologise for the really long, some sort of absence, but things have been busy. But I am here to talk about the next album into the discography of Fear Factory. I'm wearing the t-shirt of the artwork with this album I'm going to review. Today I'm going to be talking about the second studio album from the band, entitled Demanufacture. Demanufacture was released on the 3rd of March 1995, and this is the second album involved with the Roadrunner Records label. Now, this is the newer starting point into Fear Factory's sound, and it's going to be something of a later on beloved and praising sound. This is the first Fear Factory album in itself that we all get to hear for the first time what would become their most popular and signature sounds. This is the follow-up album to the debut of Soul of a New Machine, which was made in 1992 with the involvement of Colin Richardson. Demanufacture is a concept album about a man struggling for the ongoing war that was happening between man against the machines. And the more I was thinking about the lyrics around this album, I'd say it could not have been just as powerful and relevant to maybe the intensity around what's been going on lately, because I think the imagery in these lyrics are just so incredible, heavily detailed, and its concept is one of my favourites. A lot of the inspiration came around through different movies as well as for the instrumentation, different films that have inspired the band to make this album, like Blade Runner, the first two Terminator films. This is an album that was going to be involved all the way through with Colin Richardson, who did produce Soul of a New Machine, but Colin's production was focused more onto guitars, and with that being said, there were differences made between Colin and the rest of the band, so Colin's mix had to be rejected. He was involved earlier in the production side of things, but the band were not happy with the overall mixing. Greg really stepped in to make the finalized mix. There's another individual named Reese Fulber. I think this was the new album at the time for him being involved, that his contributions would be a really important part of why Fear Factory's music grew to be so popular and as influential. Demanufacture, I'd say, could not have been involved without these soundscapes to samples and this ambient piece of idea to be included through the heaviness and the instrumentation of what Fear Factory would later on be doing. Has been known as the best album in their discography, and many fans cited this as their favourite. It is just an absolute classic. There's no flaws around the album from start to finish. Demanufacture is also one of the best metal albums of the 1990s because of its growing influence, made a huge impact. And I want to say this, I think that it is very much an insult that Fear Factory have not been known as one of those pioneering bands to rise the industrial metal genre. Besides other bands like with Strapping Young Lad to Ministry, those bands had become popular, but we cannot forget, in my opinion, maybe the definitive pioneering rising band of industrial metal, that is Fear Factory. The entire album, guitar-wise and bass guitar-wise, were recorded by Dino once again, just like what he did for Soul of a New Machine. However, the Belgian musician Christian Oldwalbers would be involved in the development process, because Christian did say that he did some of the bass work on a later song of the album called Piss Christ. So Whether you would say that Dino did all the bass work, Christian did point that out. Christian would later on become Fear Factory's permanent bassist. The whole drumming, by the way, done by Raymond Herrera. This is also another pioneering record around the usages of the drum triggers, and Raymond did record his parts with the click track, and that's another really influential part around this style of metal. Demanufacture is an absolute classic masterpiece. It's always one of my most favourite Fear Factory songs, and it's to me one of those must-hear, anthemic, amazing pieces of metal music on any metal album that opens the sound of music, especially into this style of genre. The lyrics detail around the abuse and destruction of rebellion through these emotions of anger to frustrations around these two powers of society and the government, feeling a seek of revenge and justice after being mistreated and alienated from what they did do. Powerful hook around having no regrets and respect still is brilliant. It's making a move to break free from what's been going on, from their own control and powers. This opening song could not have been as a perfect one to start the album as monstrously as this. Self-Bias Resistor. This one is another highlight around the album, not only in through the musicianship, but it creates a lot of soul around the style vocally through Burton's vocals. His vocals, not only from these few songs to start the album, but through the rest of it, does define as one of Burton's best vocals through his own tones. Standing up against the forces, waking up and to fight back for their own freedom, the machines of hate and the refusal to accept those who are trying to keep us down. This idea of taking control of one's life and emphasizing if they fight back, they can take control and live a life with their own terms. Self-Bias Resistor is outstanding from this incredible start and shows this intensifying tightness around the sound of the band into the switchable changes on the structure to the finale section. It's wonderful. Zero Signal. This one shows a lot more of this emotional state of numbness and to be disillusioned in life, feeling completely lost and helpless, despair all over, and the faith that was completely lost from this whole experience. It shows a moment later into the track to arise from all of the disconnections, and it's a reminder to think about finding hope and faith and to break through from what's being going through these emotional states. Zero Signal is a phenomenal song and fantastic, all in through the strengths of Fear Factory's rhythm to the overall tonality of the vocals from Burton. Replica. Out of all of the songs in Fear Factory's discography, this one is like an anthem, but it's also adding in one word, and that is epic. It's the most popular song on this album and one of the most beloved metal songs around the 90s as well. It's a powerful song around the messages on the understanding and freedom through this world of violence and hatred everywhere, with the usage of the word misery later on into the song. The struggling to overcome everything from that whole mentality, and then goes into this context of power of resilience in the face of adversity, dominating, and shows a lot of this ferociousness around the sound of the riffs to the incredible, memorable chorus into one of the greatest Fear Factory songs of all time, New Breed. I love New Breed. New Breed, while being one of the more simplistic ones on this album, strong transition through the simplicity to make these riffs become even more addictive, and these wailing sirens around the whole nature of this track does show its own musical premise, speaking about an identification of a new group to create and shape the future, speaking that's developed a resilience and detachment from the challenges in life, and refusing to be down from the expectations of society and the normality of life, besides the obstacles of it, explaining the message of this empowerment and determination to shape their own identity and control. I always do love New Breed so much as one of the other high favourites, as well as with the first 3 songs, and of course with Replica being one of those other unstoppable and recognisable masterpiece songs. Dog Day Sunrise. This is the only cover on the album. It was originally done by Heads of David. I think this is the best cover from the whole time Fear Factory has been going as a band. Dog Day Sunrise is the strongest cover out of all of the other ones they've done later on through future albums. Dog Day Sunrise lyrically does actually fit in with the overall themes and context around the whole lyrical point of view. Depiction of a new day dawning, and the dogs symbolize the oppressed or working class. It's a portrayal that is very bleak on oppression, and the struggles are still continuing forward. It's finding a desire for a change and to question the systems and the liberation. It's originally one of these songs that you may think to yourself, does this really match with the whole concept? But once you really pay attention into the lyrics, from the early stuff to the later stuff around the album, and think about this one in particular, it's 100% completely accurate. Body Hammer. In my opinion, this is like the only thrashy type of style, the way I would be paying attention into how Dino plays these amazing riffs, and the overall beats through Raymond's drumming is just as incredible. Perfect tightness with its grooves. The world at this point has been at its impending doom and state. Expressions of conflict and contempt, focusing onto the violence and the visualizing of bloodshed, embracing the cause and effect. It creates a new world by destroying everything from anywhere. Body Hammer is one of those other songs that absolutely does fulfill more of this strength around this concept. Flashpoint, the shortest song on the album, nearly 3 minutes long, and I find that this style of music can be like a heavy metal arrangement. Internal struggles of self-destruction of one's actions, the confessions of lying to the other person's face, and then expressing the guilt, later on increasing the turmoil right after a really terrific one. And like with Body Hammer, it's probably one of the other heaviest sounds through the music and the way Burton sings. Hunter Killer is one of the other wonderfully crafted and striking songs. This one is full of power. The society is transforming into making the world be completely plagued. The chaos was rising from the crime to violence and the usage of guns. Some of the song's lyrics reference the gun control and the failure of it all. More of the people deciding to create violence with no hesitation. Loss of empathy as the individual becomes desensitized and hardened. The song does feature the main character to this point as a criminal, entirely driven by anger and fueled by those they hate. Sense of power and control, making wars even bigger against the machines, adapting later to survive as well. Just sublime in through the ferocious, aggressive nature around the style of music, and the band were in extreme professional, outstanding achievements through songs like this. I love the other songs previously on the album, but Hunter Killer does define and one of Fear Factory's best. Piss Christ, disillusionment of the organized religions. People's faith have been betrayed, and implying that any human god that's going to come and save them will never be found. Increasing frustrations and the helplessness of not finding any of these answers to these religious troubles. An indictment of faith in any human-made god. As I said, Christian did do some of the bass work on this song, as he does get a songwriting credit. Well, this one is another really good, excellent number after Hunter Killer. Then the album finalizes things in a very doomy, droning, but as intensely dramatic move of expression and composition. A therapy for pain. Lyrically speaking, around welcoming death with open arms as an escape from all of the mentality and destruction and everything that has been addressed earlier from the album. Burton's vocals just raising his range and the creepiness through the howling chords to the long notes on the guitars and through the violent smack of Raymond's snare drum. After struggling all the way from all of the pain and attempting to find a way out from everything that's been going on, this is a journey towards the inevitable, and it's a reminder of the fragile fact of life itself. The last few minutes takes control for more involvement of Rhys Fulber's experimental ambient compositions. It was originally going to be included on a track called Echoes of Innocence from the Concrete album, but this is the later few minutes where I think it does create its own artistic vision and detail completely well. It finalizes this whole record at one of the other incredible moments around the album because of the whole experience. Overall, Demanufacture by Fear Factory is one album that you need to hear if you haven't already. Let me know what you guys think of this in the comments down below. Is this your favourite Fear Factory album? Because I will say this, it's not my favourite Fear Factory album. That would be the upcoming review for the next album, Obsolete, which I am very looking forward to review that album. But there's no denying for the facts and the importance that Demanufacture does still continue to grow as an album for inspiring musicians, and it's one of those albums that will always stand the test of time. I'm going to give Demanufacture by Fear Factory a 10 out of 10. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll keep you guys posted for more videos in the near future.